26th of September, Patty said, and if you fear that soon you'll be dead, well, I can't argue with your thought. It seems right what you've been taught. You can look far enough ahead and see that many will be dead. For we know that a massive object in the sky means that many of us will die. And for me, I'm old, I don't care, but some of you are young and unaware. And so I bring this news from Patty, hoping to give you a chance to know the truth. And I know there are no words to soothe the people headed for this 26th day when we will use flashlights to light our way. Maybe you've seen this map before. It's from Zeta Talk website. Nancy Leader put it out, and it counts down the last 50 days before the pole shift. It's something like 7 weeks. Notice that both Nancy Leader and Patty agree on one thing: 3 days of darkness. Nancy gave us the calendar countdown, and while she did not give us a precise date, Patty did. And so I superimposed Thursday, September 26th, 2013 on Nancy Leader's map and started labeling the days. Nobody gave me this idea, and nobody is responsible for the date of Tuesday, October 22nd, 2013, but me. I derived it based on the information of these two women. I don't know if there will be a pole shift on that day. I have merely taken what Nancy Leader said and what Patty said, and I've tried to make sense of it, and this is what I got. Is it accurate? No, it's in the future. Nothing in the future is true yet. Patty says that the earthquakes in the Pacific Rim have already begun. One of my viewers wrote to me and said they just had a 6.0 in Northern California, where earthquakes are rare, and he has little children and he's frightened. He asked me what to do, and I don't know what to do. I moved from California 3 years ago because I knew this was coming, and all my friends told me that I'm crazy. I moved to Arizona where I thought I was safe, and now I find that this is not safe. Nowhere is safe except down there in those underground DUMBs.
3 days. When this earth are going into the 5th dimension, there is a place called Nuru. When we are passing through that place, 3 days, 3 nights, we are not able to use the electricity. They're completely darkness, day and night. No sun, no stars, no light at all. We are completely in dark 3 days. No mass media or no information are announced to these people on this planet. Hidden government people know it. Just by themselves, they thought that they can be saved. They try to escape from this planet, or they are digging the underground city under Atlanta, Norway, Holland, Switzerland, Australia. About 10,000 people elite could be saved by living there. I don't think they are saved anyway.
And it concerns the arrival of a final chastisement or punishment from God to purify men and women and prepare them for entry into heaven. Not rapture-like, according to the normal one evangelical theory, but actually the end of the world. It's not exactly around the corner, Art. It's at the time when a figure called the Antichrist is abroad. And it's a very complicated issue, the whole thing. But the actual danger itself during those 3 days of total darkness over the earth, the dimming of the sun completely, and no light, it's a time when the last efforts of the demons to run our lives.
The Navy just told these men in these classified briefings what would be happening. They didn't tell them how or why. They didn't need to know. They told them what would be happening. They told them that these oceans would become violent and have massive, violent tidal waves that would wipe out all areas near the coast. Up until last year, I was thinking, oh, melting ice at Antarctica, melting ice at Greenland. But how could it melt that fast? Well, it can't melt that fast, even with what we're going through. It turns out the answer was right in front of me all the time. And one of the problems the government has is that this object, this 10th planet, has been acting like a comet. And it's coming up from the south, which is why we can't see it. It's coming up from the southern hemisphere. From the South Pole. It's been speeding up and slowing down. That's what a comet does. So when it gets a tail and starts interacting electrically with our sun, it starts speeding up and slowing down.
Of this problem, this is a many-body problem, lots of billiard balls here, it's the sensitivity to the initial conditions. If you just deviate the point at which you hit that front red by a little bit, or just change the speed at which it's hitting, you get a totally different configuration. It's become a very complex problem.
Professor, can I ask you this though? You said it's very complex, but if I gave you enough parameters and enough computing power...
Great question. Now this brings us on to the question of things like the weather. And you're right, if we could precisely locate all the positions of the reds inside the triangle, we take the triangle off of course, and then locate the starting position of your ball and the direction in which it's going and the speed with which it's going, and find out exactly where it hits that front ball, then in principle we could do a pretty good job of predicting the motions. But we find that we can only specify those things to so many significant figures, those numbers to so many significant figures. And if you start changing those significant figures by a small amount, the effect, the change in the pattern is amplified very, very strongly. And of course this is very similar to the problem of predicting the weather. You can predict you know the velocities of all the wind patterns, say in the Atlantic, and the pressures and so on, to a reasonable degree of accuracy, say a couple of %, and that's great for doing weather forecasting for a couple of days, or maybe a week if you're lucky. But trying to predict the weather 6 months from now, or even 1 month from now, is much more tricky.